In this video, we're going to talk about a classification system for the solutions that you have come up with for a given problem that we're calling the 6-bucket solution because there are 6 buckets. And in this particular video, we're going to talk about the first bucket, which is called feeling the customer's pain. Just to review very quickly, made a as precise as possible problem statement that's worth solving. You came up with lots of solutions, potential solutions to the problem, and then assessed that solution's viability with respect to value, feasibility, and usability. And now we're trying to classify these solutions into several buckets. So, Paul Graham, who's a very successful entrepreneur and investor from Silicon Valley, says, by far the most common mistake founders make is to solve a problem that nobody has. So this, as we mentioned before, generally comes about from solutions looking for problems. So you come up with a solution in the lab or in your life, and then look to see whether there's anybody that has a problem that this particular solution you came up with solved. But the process should be the other way around. You should first specify a problem precisely, and then a solution that solves that problem. Now, solving a problem means resolving an unmet need, or as we say, a customer pain. And the customer pain could be a deep pain or a shallow pain. I'll tell you what I mean by those. And a few customers may have this pain, or a lot of customers may have this pain. So a shallow pain is like a vitamin as opposed to a painkiller. The painkiller you must have, and a vitamin is a nice to have. So if there's only a few customers and the pain is low, that's a red area in terms of, assessment of the viability of your solution. Why is it yellow when a lot of customers have the same problem? So a deep problem that a lot of potential customers have is in yellow because generally speaking, that area is of interest to the so-called big boys, the large established companies that want to exploit a deep problem that many people have, or even a shallow problem that many people have, and competing with them is difficult. So the recommended best place to start in terms of getting an innovation out into practice is to find an area where there's a few people who will really appreciate the solution that you're proposing for their problem or their unmet need, which is a deep need for just that small set of people, and then to grow from there into larger populations and perhaps solving related problems. Again, from Paul Graham, excuse his language, not mine. He says, who wants your solution so much that they will use a semi-finished, half-baked product coming out of your garage that they have never heard of? If the answer to this is nobody will buy such a product, then you may not be onto something good. So in terms of, solving the customer's pain or the unmet need is so deep that they're willing to take a chance on you as a small garage operation. That's a big qualifier to see whether your innovation is on its way to success. So another similar principle is fake it before you make it. Definitely not in the Theranos sense, in the sense that I will describe to you in the subsequent slides. So I came up with an innovation to solve a specific problem, which was handling of surgically excised breast specimens without losing their orientation. So my solution, long-term solution, was a container that was shaped in the shape of a female breast so that all the fiducial markers would identify the orientation of the specimen as it was excised from the breast itself. So it was almost as if when you delivered the specimen, you would deliver it within the breast, so to speak, because the container simulated the breast. So I started off in terms of fake it before you make it principle. by using cardboard boxes first, then my wife's Tupperware with Scotch tape and so on, and then a 3D printed prototype, and then finally mass production injection molded prototype. And at each step of the game, I was showing my half-baked prototype to physicians who were giving me ideas about how to make the next iteration of the prototype better, so that I was constantly testing at as small an investment as possible of my time and of my money, validation from physicians. That's what I mean by fake it before you make it. So the rule of the startup game is not just about the customer and the customer's pain, but the matching of three components: customer, problem, and the solution. So the best fit of these three components is going to yield a successful innovation. The problem is that an innovation, by definition, is in the world of unknowns, because even though the problem is known, the efficacy of the solution is not known, the customer's response to the solution is not known, whether they will accept it or not accept it. So we're dealing with a lot of unknowns. So the process of innovating is one about discovery and learning. So learning about customer behavior, learning about customers' willingness to pay, willingness to use, is what defines the process of getting an innovation from the lab into the marketplace or the patient's bedside. So let's analyze this a little bit further, the relationship between the problem and the customers. So when we say customers, it's really not a monolithic set of people. They are also divided into various groups. And the group that we're most interested in is what we call the lowest hanging fruit, meaning who needs this the most. Even if that number is small, that lowest hanging fruit, if I cannot get them to accept my innovation and to pay for my innovation, what hope do I have to reach the higher hanging fruit? Probably very little. So dividing the customers into segments by their desire to use your solution and the depth of their unmet need is a critical process in terms of assessing the viability of a solution. Similarly, the linkage between the customer and the solution. So the one thing to realize is that the customer always has alternatives to your solution, almost by definition. This may not be direct competition, so it's better to think of it as alternatives. So one thing to think about is, what is the customer's next best alternative to my solution today? So that needs to be analyzed carefully, and then subsequently, what other potential alternatives are in the works today that will end up becoming alternatives to my innovation, because it will take some time for me to finish my innovation. What should I be aware of in terms of what's coming up in the future? So the best way, in my mind, to assess the viability of an innovation is to first ask, who's the customer, and more specifically, who's the paying customer? Sometimes the end user of an innovation is not the same as a payer. So for example, an insurance company or Medicare pays, and the patient doesn't really pay, but gets a benefit from your innovation. So the understanding the paying customer as well as the end user is a very critical component of assessment. Second question is, what pain or unmet need does your customer have, your paying customer have, that your solution solves? So you need to think about what's in the mind of Medicare or an insurance company as to why they would pay for it, because it's clear that it's very beneficial for the patient, for example, but somebody has to pay for it. And so the why question should be asked about the paying customer also. And then, as we discussed before, what is your customer's next best alternative to your solution? This is a good way to think about the first bucket out of the 6 buckets called understanding customer pain.